Tuesday, March 19th, 12:23 p.m. What is up, trading world? We are currently back on the markets talking about the markets, obviously. So, some good talking points, a little bit of trading. I guess we'll start with the big one. We had Micron's earnings and subsequently our reaction over here at SanDisk. So, this is kind of the trade on a personal level we're kind of following, trying to make some money. It is a volatile trade, and so we're tracking the momentum, trying to make a little bit of money, but not a position size that's going to get that big at all. But we did add, and so since the last update, I think it was back 2 days ago. I think it was the 17th, I believe. But if not, you can just see it on the channel. If not, regardless, things in my mind was yesterday. Kind of the same kind of reaction of NVIDIA. I kind of expected it to be a bigger appreciation, to be honest. Like we said, we were looking to add around 800 to 850, add one share, but we traded pretty consistently higher. There was definitely after this chunk right here around 11:15. Certainly when we went above, let's say 720, that's when. Or that was, no, let's say, I'd say 7:30. That's when it felt like, the momentum of, okay, we're going into earnings and we're going to be appreciating for the rest of the day. So I'd say the most predictable for this stock specifically, again, with an earnings beat or appreciation pre-market, I like to short that. But the lead up into these things like NVIDIA where you're expecting a blowout number, you're expecting big revenue numbers, it seems pretty consistent on the day of trading up, before the market close. So that seems to be the most predictable aspect, again, of this technology, AI, memory specific to this, to SanDisk as memory, NVIDIA more of technology in general, or just, I could say, AI more specifically, or than just technology, trying to be specific with my own words. But regardless, we definitely had the price action pairing to kind of the expectation or the momentum. But we report the numbers pretty much, within, I want to say, these 3 to 6 minutes after the bell, and you immediately kind of get this pretty solid move down. And so you kind of erase all of this appreciation you had after 11 a.m. yesterday. And so my overall takeaway from that, again, the overall market is, again, the 663 or 667 was the level, again, whereas I just kind of, sentiment-wise, it felt like, we were tired. Everyone's at the party. 3 years of appreciation. Now it feels like we're kind of just dragging on. And so, 6 months, 7 months, 6 to 9 months, nice. Later, we're at 657. So I don't know what to make of it. It's just a psychological point that I have in my head of when I felt, again, like sentiment felt kind of exhausted. And so we have a sizable chunk of time, 6 to 9 months, nice, once again, has passed. And so our SanDisk, we're still up, it's still at a price level of this extreme appreciation. And I would call it, again, but the longer it churns, the longer it stays up here, this is a whole month of price action. It could just be the genuine growth super cycle. But again, as indicated by the position, we are short. I just always feel like people getting ahead of their skis, right? Everyone has to grow up. If you're an adult, no matter how many times, no matter how obvious a simple truth or life lesson seems, people have to learn for themselves. And so, same with financial markets. That's kind of the sentiment I see playing out with price action. Point being is, I was expecting it to be, frankly, to go into the 850s. It still very well could. It's 12:30, but again, the reaction on an intuitive personal basis, this gave me kind of a lower of the highest expectation from about $2,000 a share to maybe about $1,200. Point being is I was comfortable enough to add another share today. I did not add well. I was at 721, but it was like right around the time was about 9:45 a.m. So not an immediate, certainly was not going to immediate sell at the open. Definitely wanted to add into today at some point. Again, one whole share. Our expected share size, maximum share size being 5 until hopefully we go in our direction. But always planning for cataclysm. And so an extremely small position overall, but not enough to make some money, right? If we go down $300 a share, It's right around $1,000, $900, because we would add if we break this price level to the downside. We will add slowly, only up to 2 shares if we were to break to the upside. But with the reaction here, again, kind of the question becomes, what makes this stimulus, again, once you kind of break this momentum, and again, you're looking at a multi-year trend. Or you have this AI in the background, which is, again, with the NVIDIA, Google, Alphabet, Meta. Really, like technology since like 1993. It's like, I would say that's when like technology is like the buzzword. And then kind of like computer. And then, now it's AI. But just, it's all kind of like the same development. The point being is you have that big, appreciation sentiment in the background. And you have memory specific within AI specific within technology specific. And then it's like, okay, the conversation is like, okay, we're short. We have a lot of demand now, short supply now, and we're expecting that to be out to, the most optimistic numbers in terms of, hey, our stock's going to go up as the consequence to about 2030. I would say more consensus or just run of the mill seems to be about 2028. But again, you just miss one of those numbers and you break this sentiment of this appreciation immediately. And so we have short exposure now at a small level, certainly prepared for any sort of major, again, a double from here would be like, maybe we should put a hedge on. But overall, just trying to track the sentiment, having some skin in the game. But my reaction from the earnings, and it's like, okay, we had the blowout numbers. Let's move my cute face once again. I know that makes you sad. But, again, the 6.2. Well, that's not even the... Well, SanDisk didn't report, Brad. We should probably go to the stock that reported. But again, we have the $12. Again, just $12 to the $4.78. And so it's just like I just feel like the price action to momentum is breaking down. Could it pop up again? It could, but again, that's why evidenced by adding another share, I think it's more likely to go down, more so than I was yesterday, certainly more so after the earnings report. And so that is what we're doing at SanDisk. Still a lot of time for this to, again, this could close up at 750 plus today and look extremely bullish and immediately retract what I say tomorrow. And so, but for now, that was kind of my reaction, and I added one share. Past that, again, we closed out of the American Eagle pretty much immediately 2 days ago. Not high enough conviction here for me to take a position. Those are the ones we have been following. Netflix is looking interesting. Again, just as a consumer myself, as somebody, as an investor, as a stock trader, as whatever the labels you want to put on it, all things considered, extremely strong demand story. To me, a good deal, when we're talking about even industrials like Caterpillar. The farmers, you get a big piece of equipment, it's mechanical, it works, it gets the job done. The seller of the equipment it's a win-win situation, right? A good deal is a win-win. And so, to me, the streaming environment, the demand quality of like cinema, TV shows, writing, right? Writing with visuals. The demand's going to be there indefinitely forever. And then there's a lot of improvement for the consumer experience. So that's what we're talking about. Consolidation, this environment seems fruitful. And so certainly would be interested in longing, again, trying to talk you through, again, my perspective on different types of trades, not just short everything that's too high. And so this is, again, don't tell anybody. I might go long Netflix. It's a top secret play. Don't tell anybody. But trying to trade something that is major market, major headlines every other day or whatever. Again, really NVIDIA is like a quarter of the news cycle. But regardless, trying to trade this to the long side, this is a position that I would take. And then overall, they're just price points, right? It's just, okay, if it doesn't even matter, again, I want to buy a good American company. Right now, it's at $92. If I were to put $1,000 at Netflix right now, which I'm not going to do, again, I think certainly into the mid-80, in the 80 range, I'm definitely interested. But I was even considering a small position now, just like a starter. And it's just where it's like, okay, I would really be interested if it got down to, the 75 where it was before it had this appreciation pop. And so, would I be comfortable, whatever dollar figures I add now, if it gets down to this, the recent low, which is well within, sentiment, price action movement, would I add the same amount of money? Is kind of like my thought, to get that price average right in between, right? If I have, however, $1,000 at $90 a share and then $1,000 at $70 a share, my price average is 80. So I'm always kind of thinking of like, okay, if I have to add in the future, which again, stocks go up and down all of the time, these short-term fluctuations are extremely hard. We try to time them, extremely hard to do. I don't even say that. I don't think hard is the right. It's just like the irrationality. It's just you just can't, and so you just have to manage your trades properly. But point being is like, okay, I'm entering a position. Am I confident that I'm going to add? If it goes against me, to get my price average more in favor. Because again, if you're taking a trade, you already have that level of conviction that I'm pretty sure this is going to go up or down, and that's why you take a long or short position, call or put option, however you want to play the security, the movement. And so this is something I'm looking for. Long would definitely be an interesting trade, little setup here for Netflix, to keep our trade log, again, just not short everything that I think is too high. But I really do think that, again, the highest conviction, which again, that is what you initiate a trade with, is I think this is going to go up or I think this is going to go down for whatever reason. And so I added small to DFTX, again, long-term. Again, this is, again, these quote-unquote alternative pharmaceuticals, I guess if you wanted to call it, but just science making sense at some point. Doesn't seem to be anytime soon, but this is certainly that trade for there. So long-term, long positions, this DFTX and this ATAI. This has a lower price point. I see the whole sector, again, trading kind of similarly. And so this one has a lower price to entry, and so you can get a little more shares. So I added, I think, 50 today. And so we can see some ads here. My one sell of SanDisk at 719. Yeah, yuck. But again, the overall time, again, 9:40. Okay, so I lied. I said that was 9:45. That's 9:41. But again, it wasn't the immediate reaction to the open, and so I thought it had popped back up enough to initiate another sell. But again, averaging back down to Gemmy, again, that's back in the 5 range, so 571. You can see the prices here, but that is just the trades or the differences since yesterday or whenever. But regardless, you can have, I think, anything else on the actual trading. I think that's it. I added, again, small to these different income funds. Again, just with the general pressure, I just add to these when it seems like this seems like an overall down day sentiment and price action wise. And so, we're into this 40 range, added a little here. Overall, I did the math. Again, I don't like the accounting statements on Schwab. It's just still not like, I feel like with all of the people that go to Harvard and Wharton and Babson, the accounting should be clearer. And it just isn't. But again, about even. I want to say I'm down a little bit with like the current price levels. Maybe down like 200 or 300 again across SPYI and QQI. But again, these are things that, again, I'm not closing in any foreseeable future. I mean, these are income funds. If it dumps down here into the lower 40s, and again, it would pair. The reason that would happen would pair to an event similar to the tariffs announcement of April of last year. And so, again, kind of expecting this short-term retracement dump or something. Again, why? Not super high convicted, but that is when I would initiate a bigger position. Specifically to the income funds, I don't think I'm going to trade the SPY itself. But even the income funds, it's like if my income is $1,700 a month or $2,400 a month, it doesn't change my day-to-day life pretty much at all. And so, again, it's just what do you do when you don't have constitutional rights? It's kind of just, hope that anything makes sense at some point in your lifetime. Doesn't seem like that's likely. And so not adding big to here, did nibble a little bit more, but without a big retracement, I'm kind of comfortable with where I'm at. And so I'd rather almost add some of the free cash to the higher conviction long-term things, which again, this DFTX was MNMD, which I trimmed. We used to have like 950 shares here, which would have been overall profitable, again, if I had constitutional rights. But you have to manage money with no income. Yeah, with no constitutional rights, you get extorted. Grave bodily harm, who cares? All that stuff's awesome. I love America. American dream. But that is for the trading, which brings us right into our talking points. So we're watching our Carnival Orange Man, the Oompa Loompa Donald, up there. Start off with some great quotes from our Commander-in-Chief. When you're stubborn and incompetent, that's a bad thing. In reference to Jerome Powell not immediately lowering interest rates, because Donald wants to echo the most bland talking points that exist, and his brain is the size of a pea. And so he's like, oh yeah, dude. Again, as we've just covered in depth, this relationship between the Federal Reserve interest rates, which we did get the announcement is unchanged. Yeah, those poor people. You guys don't have assets. You don't get to live at your parents' house and not have access to constitutional rights to actually have your credentials validated to get a real job. Yeah, now look at me. I can make $1,800 a month instead of 16 or whatever. But again, the overall behavior of Donald Trump is not one that a commander-in-chief would ever be demonstrating. And it's just direct projection. I mean, direct projection immediately. When you're stubborn and incompetent, that's a bad thing. And then proceeds, again, the Japanese minister is in the White House today, and then proceeds just to talk about how much money he spent on building a great big building. We can look at history like King Solomon and his great big temple. We can look at this person's great big building and this person's great big building. And then you look at the great leaders that have people following them, and then it's like, hey, man, don't make a statue of me. Hey, man, live humbly. It's like, yeah, our great leaders. Donald Trump, celebrity turned Republican talking head in his old age. What an absolute inspiring commander-in-chief. But direct projection, scientifically, historically, when you're stubborn and incompetent, like Donald, you just say Jerome Powell, who is stubborn and incompetent. Specifically to a $2.5 billion renovation of the Federal Reserve, which again, that also strikes me as like, wow, that's a big bill for what? It's like, I've been to municipal buildings. I've been to these buildings where it's like state function, schools even. It's like a lot of flow. Like there's a lot of people coming in and out for a long time. You don't build fancy things. You build, stuff that functions, which is what you should build. And so $2.5 billion, I'm not over here saying it's fraudulent, but it's like, that's a number where it's like, that makes me think, what are we buying? And then it's, I'm the only adult in the room and nobody knows how to manage money. And so it just, people get into their little groups, and that little group can literally be a nation state. And so you have this big disparity of wealth where you're not actually creating real value. You're not over there innovating, which when you don't have real innovation, that's when you have a net zero sum game. That's when you have a race to the bottom. A bunch of lose-lose, a bunch of bad deals. Losers. And so, direct projection from our great commander-in-chief. But he's just literally rambling on about talking about how he built the most big and most expensive building. And our next Fed chair, so the actual mechanics, I guess, Warsh has to get confirmed in like June, I believe. But Jerome Powell is still the current Fed chair with another nominee. I mean, I would expect, with the current control of the Senate and the House get confirmed. I think it's a Senate confirmation. But regardless, expecting Warsh to get confirmed. I think that seems to be I don't expect. But then there were, again, is Jerome Powell staying or something? And he says no to that. Sorry, there's a flicking like a bug or something. But so we have this Fed chair transition. Donald Trump saying, Jerome Powell's incompetent. This genuine relationship, what Donald's projecting is in no way economically sound or reflecting of any thought or intuition or anything. It's just Republican talking point. Yeah, stocks go up. Look how great I am. I'm going to appeal to rich people. Building my building. Dude is a geriatric AARP, needs to be retired yesterday kind of guy. And so that's inspiring stuff to see. But overall for the rate hike, I guess we could talk about the opposite side, because those poor people can't get returns. Haha, poor people. But again, do I see then as raising, like what does raising rates do in terms of sentiment? Again, people that have fixed income, like, hey, that's fun. We should hike rates to an infinite percent return. But overall, again, it just like, from a stabilized investor, or like an investor, I would say, that has like, again, multiple asset streams where they're like reallocating portfolios, or if you're a fund manager, you're reshifting where it's not, do I have money to invest? It's where do I put the money? I guess it just gives you a more stable, higher rate. Obviously, but if cash flow is the stable cash flow is the thing you're looking for your portfolio allocation, I guess that's kind of the sentiment. Because again, interest rates don't stimulate demand. So when I'm over here saying lowering interest rates doesn't stimulate demand, neither does raising interest rates. It just kind of like gives, again, people with fixed income a stabler thing, but then it raises interest rates for high yield savings accounts. I just think the overall environment of the economy is stronger. When you say a strong economy, I think a higher interest rate than where they are now. Not just because I want a higher interest rate personally. I want constitutional rights. I'm not presenting any of this conversation for me personally. But again, just for the average loan, private credit, public credit, Fed Reserve, discount rate, super reserve, if somebody is willing to take on debt, they're that confident that they're willing to pay, they can pay it back with more interest. And so a higher interest rate just shows a stronger relationship between a creditor and a debtor, or whatever the logic plays out. But that is my thought on interest rates, where again, the inflation, right, it has a minute, or I don't say it has a minor, right, not a major, not majority share, minority share influence of inflation, where it's like higher interest rates. Again, it's a compounding effect of the actual interest rate, but then, okay, if I'm looking at a home, again, that's like the biggest thing. But again, I don't think the American dream, you have to have a house. I hated having a house. Hated it. People want stable finances overall, but you'd be more risk adverse if you're not that confident that you can pay back a loan at a higher rate. You're going to be less likely to take on debt you can't pay off at all. And so, to me, just all things considered, a higher interest rate shows a more like a higher credit score. Like there's more likelihood you're going to get paid back in a reasonable time. So to a rate hike, again, but I don't see the overall function of interest rates as the predominant thing to influence inflation. To me, inflation rate is just, we have different nation states with the same goods, with the same demand structure. People are people. And then any one of them can just sling on the print infinite money. And you can still have, again, the whole Republican Party, or, groups of tens of thousands of people, millions of people still like making money within that jurisdiction, right? Like the United States of America is 340 million people. So you can still have like these huge disparities. And it's really just like the quality of life disparity within a jurisdiction, the United States being different than a whole like Africa, because of like the inflation rate strictly caused by the Federal Reserve. But that's, again, printing money, creating new dollar bills, being way more influential than the overall interest rate environment. And so I don't think rate hikes, again, it just demand and giving money at any rate is just not, it's just disjointed. It's just not the cause and effect that should be talked about. And so, again, I just think overall stronger rates indicate a stronger consumer. All things consumer, that word kind of applies there. And so that is my thoughts there. But honestly, I'm going to take my hat off, a moment of silence. Iger is gone. Chapek is in. What are we going to do? Iger was just the OG of running the parks. He just was. I mean, I haven't been to Disney World since I was like 12, and I just know Iger ran that shit like an OG. Like King Von at O Block, that was Iger at Six Flags. Is that even Disney? I don't even think that doesn't even make any sense. But Iger was running Disney's parks like King Von ran O Block. And so a moment of silence. I mean, I was choked up yesterday. I mean, because Iger's left before. In this series, Iger's left, and then Iger came back. And now Chapek's in. It's like, what are you going to do? I mean, Venezuela just beat the United States. Chapek is just taking over for Iger. Holy cow. And so it's a new era. It's a new era for us all. So that was a big one. Micron did raise their dividend 30%, which again, the headline struck me as strange because it went from $12.5 cents to 15 cents, which is 30%, but it's just like, why present that information like that? It is true, but it's like you're trying to emphasize big dollar return, and it's like, no, like, because again, how much, times by 2, or like if you have 100 shares, a penny, you have to scoot it over 2 decimal places, to be like, oh yeah, I'm hyped about this, dividend returned. The dividends are speed bumps, again, because I'm typically shorting things, or they're, tips if you're long things. But the overall price action, certainly on a stock like Micron, the dividend is not nudging you one way or another to Long the stock, sell the stock, short the stock. And so, but they did raise the dividend. Again, the overall dividend relationship, I've heard plenty of conversation where it makes sense that, management teams raising dividends to keep investors as being a bad thing. But just my initial reaction, where again, I haven't had dividend structured managed companies, seems to be like, again, to me, that's the natural life cycle of a business progression. People make money investing at the price appreciation, and then you make money holding the stock, just giving dividends, the distributions. We're going to get to science class here. Big old science episode. Look at all how's that science proofing coming along, guys? It's going quite the meaty episodes recently. but regardless, the distribution of the dividends, making stocks that have appreciated tremendously, at the mature end of their life cycle, still advantageous to hold. And so the relationship of price action and dividend, or even more so just as a management, owner of a company, principal of a company, hey, we want our dividend here for this reason, really have no opinions, no experience. But Micron raised theirs. And so there was no rate change, but there was even conversation of maybe there's a rate hike in the next one. I don't see that conversation has developed yet. But yeah, again, hike their interest rates immediately. Again, give me my money. Just give me my money. I am still the victim of crime. Give me my money. And then yesterday was a fun one. We had a great guest. I literally had written down Melissa Auto Sucks. And that was a Micron, the conversation was around the Micron or the memory chip trade in general. And so I had written down Melissa Auto Sucks. And then Melissa Lee then projects, oh, you have such great energy. Again, on the same day that we proved generosity is energy, directly, literally, that is good vibes only, is generosity. That is biggest result ever. Classic. But back onto the markets. Yeah, that earned me no dollars. But no, again, just direct projection. You just see this. We're at this point where it's just like everyone says what everyone's thinking all of the time. And then people are just like, oh, that's funny. And it's just like, but she was just such a dull guest. It's like, she literally had like Wonder Woman Zapdos hair and like white hair, like dyed white hair, and her eyes all wide. And she's like, and talking also, I was like, oh, the stocks could go up for a long time, and they're just gonna keep going up and up, and yeah. And it's like, wow, that's the person that owns the company that hired somebody that's trying to, that I've applied to. That's reassuring. They're really gonna be able to differentiate the people who knows what they're doing. When they're sitting on TV, they got their makeup on, and they're all excited, and oh, the bright lights are everywhere, woohoo! It's like, wow, this guest sucks. Again, providing she didn't even say anything. And then Melissa Lee was like, wow, you have great energy. It's like, that is not what any of your viewers thought, and that's what nobody at the table was thinking. But we're not going to say the thing that's directly true. But I will, no problem. I literally had it written down. Melissa Auto Sucks. And so, that is what we have for our talking points for today. Again, where are we at with SanDisk? Again, and this is just like my highest conviction, I guess. Like I said, I don't know if I close this position, I have nothing else to do, and if I close this position, I'm done doing it. Like I don't sit here and watch this shit. But I want to be doing stuff because this is if I have a risk tolerance, if my income is, let's get those interest rates to 15% immediately. But like if I had risk tolerance to trade, which again, I live on like a couple $100 a month actually. I don't have constitutional rights, and the most important scientific proofing is literally the entirety of analysis is derived and proven on the internet, and we are tidying up the linguistics. Is distribution associative? Like those basic properties you have, like that's kind of where I have to turn off this camera, turn my camera sideways, turn on the other camera, and do science now. That is what I have for you today on trading, and we will pop in later. Thursday, March 19th, 3:44 p.m. So we got just under 15 minutes until the market closes. A couple talking points. As we can see, SanDisk is taking a rocket ship up. And so this is just kind of in the background, not too much more to add to the trading that we discussed earlier. First thing, headlines came across all of CNBC around 3:13 p.m. The late day bounce. The late day bounce is happening. So Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says the Iran war thing is almost done. Again, we just kill some random people. We say, we got the bad guy. Is anything practically going to happen? Just more terrorist attacks around the world. No meaningful regime change is possible. You don't just kill like a handful of people and shit changes. That's not how anything works. But to our trading, and that was kind of the stimulus from the news cycle. And then they call this a bounce. You hear on the screens, bouncing, it's bouncing, the market's bouncing. This is not a bounce. Let's think of things that bounce, like that ass in the club from your girlfriend. So when she's throwing it back, bam, it's going in one direction. Then it's going into another direction. That thing is in rotation. Bam, bam. And you're just like, whoa, up in the clubs, throwing the hundreds, throwing the singles. Bam, she's putting that thing in rotation. It is bouncing. But it's a reversal of direction, specifically to the upside. If you have a lot of selling pressure, a lot of downward pressure, and then it quickly reverses to the upside, that is a bounce. When you bounce a basketball, you smash it to the ground and it bounces back up. When you just kind of jiggle around to the side over here, you're not bouncing anything. And so bounce is definitely not the appropriate word. Now is a good point to just point out, if you have the capacity, here I even have the Constitution pulled up, right? You have a right to your writings and your discoveries to promote the progress of science. I am sitting in this fucking house and I cannot record a video because there's a loud fucking trash landscaper right outside my window. So if you have the capacity to work, be thankful. I do not have constitutional rights. I cannot work. I'm not even raising my voice. I'm just trying to record my voice so I can be heard because I have no physical location to go to work. The most important scientific discovery that is right here protected by the Constitution, I cannot do because this country is a fucking shithole. I cannot have a career and a family because of crime. I sit down here to work. There is a guy 10 feet away blowing the leaves around, and I cannot go anywhere to work. So I'm going to cut this video here, hopefully jump back on later if I'm ever allowed to work in the United States. Because you can never get shit done because all of the privileged people just don't do anything. Thursday, March 19th, 3:50. So hopefully we're done blowing the leaves around. I mean, it's really important. If I've learned one thing from the labor force, it's all of those mid-level managers that have never truly innovated. They've never invented something. They've never created something substantially more efficient, but they want their personal quality of life higher. We need to blow all the leaves around, one step over the next, create a big noise havoc. Who cares if other people can work? Let's just get our yard perfect. But at the same time, truly providing no value to the economy. They don't create innovation. They just job hopped for 30 years, and now they have their little precious thing. And so, again, the most fundamental, again, constitutionally protected right to progress, again, it says progress of science, to progress science. I literally do not have a physical location to work. So let's see if we can get a little bit of analysis in here before, again, somebody has to go watch a sports game. But it fires me up. Again, I have lost my entire life to shitty bullshit behavior, and I can't even work. And a country, again, the United States of America is just such a third world, incompetent, privileged, it's just a terrible place. I've been seeking asylum demonstrably and publicly for years, trying to focus on the economy. Let's see if we can get any work done in a country of fat, privileged, entitled, worthless people. So we covered that was not a bounce at 313, but somebody, again, everyone at CNBC who agreed with that headline. Yep, they have a job. Good thing they went to Harvard. Wow, really good stuff. I did open up Netflix. Again, any position I take is just, if I don't take a position, I don't follow it at all. And so I wanted to follow something that I do have a long perspective on, as we said earlier, that is, major market. Everyone's heard of it, talked about it, traded it, owns it. It's in every fund, so on and so forth. But I do think the underlying demand story of why people would consume the product is there, and I think the business model has a lot of room for improvement for continued, Netflix to the moon. Again, I don't know, but just something I wanted to trade to the long side. And so we had some good downward pressure, again, added 5 whole shares at $91.13. So we'll be following Netflix for a long position, commenting on it just like SanDisk and the other ones. Again, this one's looking like it's going to close extremely strong, which, again, I'm not even that disappointed with my ad. I mean, I thought this was kind of the movement we would have got yesterday after and pre-market and then sell-off, but then with the sell-off, I thought we were kind of down, and it's just, again, without constitutional rights, man, you have to play the game if you want to make any money at all, and there's no rhyme or reason, and then I am literally just going to lose my entire life to a bunch of middle-aged fucking people who have never contributed to the world. That's actually what my life experience is. And it's just every single day I try to not flood every video with legal citation and just saying fuck you to everybody. But I have been tortured since I have been forming memories. I have no conscious anything of besides profound abuse from every group of people I have ever been exposed to. And I just want to eat properly, sleep properly, and work. And you just can't. You literally can't when the normalcy in the United States of America is fucking privilege, entitlement, selfishness, judgment, and being fat as shit. You can't get anything done in an environment like that. You just can't. So I opened up Netflix, but the biggest point I wanted to get to, again, along the same lines of I'm surrounded by people who are biologically older, and I'm a grown-ass man at this point, but I've been saying the same thing since I've been a child. You guys have no idea how to behave. Age is just a number, and people just bounce around, get wherever they want to go in life, and just slam the door shut for the next guy. And we have a wonderful example for a talking point for CNBC, one of the main anchors, Becky Quick. So she has a daughter. Again, I'm just saying any information that is readily available from watching CNBC. But she has a daughter, and she is affected by a genetic disorder. And so truly the most, all things considered, number one thing to do for overall health for the entire population is prescribe cannabis oil, full spectrum. That is what you do. But genetic diseases is one of those things where it's like, it's not, you don't put this onto that. Not to say cannabis solves everything, but for the most powerful antioxidant, when you're talking cellular stress or dysfunction or dis-ease, the overarching term that everybody's heard is inflammation or what did I just say? But dysfunction and dis-ease are kind of like the overarching thing. But antioxidation and inflammation are pretty much the same thing. And so for the overall stability of the biological sentient things that are human beings, cannabis oil stabilizes that metabolization the most efficiently. Genetic disorders are different. I've said that multiple times throughout the science things, but prescribing cannabis oil as, again, the overall health, all things considered, prescribing the oil that is killing people, that has been killing people for years upon years upon years. We just see Mike DeWine come out and say some more bullshit. Mike DeWine again. I can't believe this is my real life. I am a grown-ass man that knows how to behave, surrounded by privileged, entitled people that are biologically older than me, but have the maturity of 14-year-olds. And then this world is a demonstrable shithole. Nothing works. Nothing clearly works anywhere. And so, point being, anytime I talk about biological health, prescribing cannabis oil is the single number one most all-encompassing thing. For genetic-specific diseases, or again, I don't even want to call it like a mutation, a disease. Right? Because to me, disease is just anything that takes away from genuine, normal functionality of cellular metabolization. And so genetic disorder to me is just a genetic mutation. Right? It's an abnormality. I wouldn't call it a disease or disorder. But point being is the cannabis conversation doesn't apply to genetic disorders. But I want to emphasize to Becky Quick, you did the actions to make a child. You got married, you had the fun bedroom time, and now a kid pops out, Becky. Are you the one that is teaching them? Did you personally discover the scientific principles that are being taught to your child? Is anybody alive today, for the most part, the people or anybody, did they discover the things being taught to your child for science? Again, I'll pull it right back up here. I'm assuming your name's Rebecca. But right here, to promote the progress of science. And so, again, let's pop on over here to Brad's YouTube channel. Here is all of science. Actually, literally, this is the entire logical structure of analysis. When you have a personal realization, Rebecca, when you go to the store and you say, I don't know, the flour over here is cheaper than that flour, and you have that realization. You have that moment where this works. This makes more sense to use a coupon here. This is cheaper over here. I have categorized all realization. There is nothing else to learn. And so what you could do, Rebecca, to help your child is to open your mouth and tell the truth, which is your direct legal and professional obligation. The amount of auxiliary and ancillary science that would be developed. Again, I can't sit here and say I know all of the applications of rhythm and vibration. But all technological development will directly come from these principles that are proven. There is no other logical structure that exists There is no other physics that exists. And so you are truly at a point in history when all of the answers are legitimately sitting in front of your face. You are sitting on a TV stand and you're saying, I want to help my kid. And you can just open your mouth and tell the truth. And you won't do that. You are the problem. You are every bit of the problem of this world. And so, because again, the unification of science, the amount of light bulbs that connects and clicks is all of them. And so the ancillary science that will be developed, again, the pharmaceutical industry is fraudulent beyond belief. The FDA is fraudulent beyond belief. Everybody is in a position where they're just so insulated from consequences from their actions. Andrew Ginther, Michael DeWine, Donald Trump, any head of state. I'm just saying those names because those are the jurisdictions I am in. Anybody that has a university that says, I am teaching science, you are killing people by not telling the truth. Fact. Nobody cares. I've already made peace. I've lost my whole life. I'm going to sit here and never have a real relationship with my parents' family, never really understand my capacity. And I will never have a family of my own because you guys are fucking liars. And you're sitting up there, again, we have this emotional music in the background, a nice purple backdrop for Becky to get up there, and we're all going to say, oh, Becky, we want your kid to be happy and healthy. You think your colleagues are really your friends? The reason CNBC is a team because you guys all wanted jobs and careers. Where's your innovation? Oh, that's right, you guys don't contribute everything. 95% of the workforce that contributes no innovation but clamors over each other for the jobs, that is the problem. Every bit of that mid-level manager behavior is 100% the problem. Because again, right here's the law, Rebecca. It's right here. Get mad all you want, I don't care, it's right here. Grants Congress the power to promote the progress of science. How else is your child's genetic disorders going to be, how are cures or treatments going to be developed from that, if it's not from, again, the foundational principles of all science proven sitting on the internet, and you personally won't open your mouth? My life is over. I always try to appeal to, there's no appealing anymore. I try to appeal to people's emotions, I try to appeal to people's legal obligations, professional obligations. No one gives a fuck about anything. That's the problem, is just nobody cares about anything. And the instant they get offended, they shut down. Bam, bam, bam. I can't get criticized for 2 seconds. I don't have the emotional development to hear that I'm not the greatest person ever. And then we put on this big theatric show. Oh, let's go run a 5K marathon and donate money to cancer. I have personally stabilized 5 lives a decade longer than prognosis from cannabis oil. Directly me. Genetic disorders, again, is a different ballgame. But again, to me, my scientific understanding is that all disease is either completely curable or you can get to a complete scientific outlook or development or analysis where everything that can be solved will be solved, and if there's something that can't be solved, you know exactly why you can't solve it. Biological science is science is completable. The analysis, the logic, the heavy-hitting stuff, the hard stuff, I've done it, profoundly trivial, it's sitting on the internet. All you have to do is open your mouth. But point being is the development of this CRISPR application, gene splicing, anything that would be beneficial to a genetic disorder, all technology will be emergent or an application of these principles that have been proven on the internet. And so to see you guys sit up there, again, life is not a fucking movie. Life is not some cinema where there's this person's kid's dying and the lights get all dim and we also have little tears in our eyes. It's just people deny science and people die every single day, and they have been dying every single day because all of you people are liars. Truly. And so I just, again, I have seen this level of this privilege, and then people are used to the conversation of, again, we're going to have this big business innovator on our show, and we're going to talk about this great cure, and they're going to raise $600 million, and there's this big theatrical linear progression to curing cancer. And the reality is it's just, cancer is this failure for the cells to maintain apoptosis, to kill themselves, to senescence, to naturally die off. And so that's all this dysfunction caused by, again, the overarching terminology. Inflammation is definitely a big one. Oxidation and inflammation to me are the same thing. Oh my goodness, we're at the point where all of science is derived, proven on the internet. Obviously it's categorically destroyed and ruined my life. But then you see somebody genuinely up there like, I want to help my kid. Rebecca, the thing you can do to help your kid is support the Constitution, open your mouth, and tell the truth. And you won't, and you won't. And then you'll genuinely get up there and be like, I want my kid to have a better life. We're at a point where 1 + 1 has to equal 2. You have to say the truth. You have to progress science. It's proven. But that was a big talking point for me. Is it just, and again, because CNBC is so intimate, like I have hundreds of clips right here, and all backed up all over the place of you guys talking about my research. And then you want to get on there and help your own kid, and you won't open your mouth and tell the truth, and you're wondering why. And guess what everybody else in this world is doing? The same bullshit. Same thing. Nobody has any morals. Nobody has any integrity. Nobody has any character. People just chase their careers, get where they want to go in life, slam the door shut for the next guy and say, I have a house cleaner. My house is 5,000 square feet. I have a guest house. And then, people have been talking about dark energy and dark matter in physics for 60 years. Yeah, man, it always could have been nothing. It was never anything. Science remains dead. Humanity has failed in all of its capacity. And you guys are criminals and hypocrites. And so that, again, just the science progress again. When we can. Here's the law. It's right here. It's right here. And you get on TV and every single day, and you choose not to tell the truth. It's like, what a profound failure human behavior truly is. But that is what I have for trading today. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.